Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Undesirable Girl, the podcast. I'm your host, Jasmine Lee Shea. And as you know, the UN has an X through it to remind women that we are desirable. So that's what we're going to do in this episode today. And I am blessed to have an amazing friend of mine for probably 20 plus years now. One of my longest standing friends. Thank God for grace and love here. And she is a beautiful sister, daughter, wife, and friend. She has, I admire her deeply. I've seen her purchase a home when no one else that I knew was doing it. So this was early in age, and then I've seen her work a good job to go on to a great one that does more for her and her family, and I see her flourishing in her marriage, and it just means the world to me to be able to witness. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of your village, my sister, and DeSharla Adkins, if you will, continue to tell our audience a bit more about you.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for reaching out to ask me to join this podcast. I'm super excited. Don't know where we're going to go with the questions, but it's always an exciting time to be able to talk to you. And like you say, we've known each other for 20 years and 20 plus years maybe, and that was a story within itself. How we met, but I am so excited. And as Jasmine said, I'm DeSharla Adkins. I'm born and raised in the state of Tennessee, and been here all my life. Was hoping one day that I would move somewhere, but did not. But as she stated, I really enjoy just sharing whatever information I have to help others. And that's amazing that you mentioned about buying a house. I didn't even think about that when I bought a house, that a lot of people our age was not buying houses. So that's interesting. So, but I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, thank you, sis. And yeah, and I'll backtrack into what I told you we would start with regarding the questions, but the house piece, at the time I didn't think anything about it other than congratulations, right? But in retrospect, as I've begun and when I started to buy property, it hit me like, wait a minute, DeSharla did this years ago. So so yeah, so I'll come back to the house thing. I just want to say, girl, you look, you're a trailblazer, and we weren't even thinking about it in that way at the time. But yeah, okay. So as you know, it's Undesirable Girl, the podcast, where the UN is X'd out to remind women that we are desirable, even when we don't feel like it. That said, I know that we've both had some struggles with insecurities and not feeling desirable at times over the years. Will you tell us a little bit about that pertaining to your life and how insecurities have affected you over the
Yeah. So, when you first came up with this podcast and with the title, I thought about that. I was like, when did I feel undesirable? And it made me think about when I was in elementary school. And I went to a school with other races. It wasn't as many Black people. And I remember a girl telling me, I can't play with you because you're Black. And at the time, I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, I'm brown. Like, what do you mean? And I started to hear verbiage like, you're ugly. And I wore big glasses. I started wearing glasses when I was in the second grade, I believe. And they would just kind of say little things, kids being kids, like, oh, you're ugly. Look at your lips. They're so big. Your nose is so big. And I remember going home and crying to my mom and begging her for plastic surgery. That
Wow.
was when I was a little kid. I was like, Mommy, do you have any money? Can you save? Can you? I want to feel pretty. I did not feel pretty at all. I mean, people were just talking about me all the time. And I'm like, I'm so nice. Why are you being so mean to me? And so it made me, it developed something within me where I was like, man, no one's ever going to like me. No one's going to like me as a friend or as when I get older, to have a boyfriend. I didn't think that would happen for me. And so it was very difficult. Plenty of nights crying and my mom coming in to remind me that I'm pretty, to the point where my mom tried her best to think of something to allow me to feel pretty. In elementary school, I want to say in the fourth grade, she allowed me to wear lipstick. And to some parents, they're like, oh no, I would never let my child do that. But my mom wanted her daughter happy. And so she allowed me to at least put on a little bit of lipstick, to make my lips look even more plush since everyone said that they were, too big. And I'm so thankful that she did that. She showed me that she was a solution based type of person, and that helped me. That really did. So, yeah.
Wow. Yay, mom. Hey, other mom. Shout out to you. I think that is so, so thoughtful. And like you said, other people might not understand it, but she knew what she was doing. Like she knew she was responding to a heart need of her daughters. Um,
Yes.
and how did that affect you? I mean, I don't know if you grasped the weight of that as a child of what she was doing, but what are your thoughts about that now?
At the time, I did not think anything of it. I just knew you listen to your mom. Your mom allowed you to do something, and so you do it. And so I do remember I had a substitute teacher that was upset about me wearing lipstick, and she was like, "I'm calling your mom," and I'm like, "My mom is the reason why I'm wearing it." And the substitute teacher did not understand that, and at the time, I didn't know that kids couldn't wear makeup. I had no clue. But I
Yeah.
think it also, when you talk about the undesirable girl, I think it trickles down from generation to generation. I feel like my mom is a beautiful person, but I think that somewhere down the line, maybe there was some insecurities within her, and what helped her was makeup. So that's why it came about with her, having me wear makeup. So yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. And I never really thought about it until this conversation. So
Man, that is so true. I hadn't, your mom is stunning, by the way. When people see your mom, they are blown away immediately. And I was the same way, and still am when I see her. I'm like, girl, you are closer to our age than you say.
yes.
uh, but yes, I too believe there can be some generational trickle down, as my mom had battled insecurities and still does, throughout her life. So while I thought she was the most beautiful thing walking the earth, right? She didn't feel that about herself. And so I would hear her say things about herself, negatively. And I have no idea if or how that may have affected me as a child. But I knew I wanted her to feel like I thought she looked.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's
So
so sweet. Oh my gosh. Love her.
thank you, girl. So how did how did transitioning from elementary, I believe, with the lipstick, and how did that change things for you, or did it, going into middle and high school?
Yeah. So I thought about that as well as I was speaking. When I got to middle school, so we at my middle school we had band, and so the band was middle and high school. So the middle schoolers would have to walk over to the high school to go to the band room. And I
Okay.
remember one day they had like a courtyard in the middle of the high school, and I was walking through, and this guy was like, "Oh my gosh," and that might not have been the words he used, but he was like, "Your lips are nice," and I'm like, "What?" And he was like, I've never seen anybody's lips like that. Oh my gosh, you are beautiful. And he might have been like one of the worst kids ever. I don't know. But that prompted something within me because someone actually finally validated that I was pretty. I I never thought I was. I never, I was a friendly person, but I just always thought that I was this ugly girl. I even thought about, how they try to say that, African people, their looks are not of standard in America. And so I thought, oh, maybe I look like the African people. Maybe I need to go back to Africa because of how much they talked about my looks. But this guy, I don't know his name. I don't remember what he looks like, but thank you. Shout out to you for, saying that to me. And I think that that's when some confidence came about within me. And I started to want to do more and to be seen more. So it really helped.
Man, and people just don't realize sometimes how far a compliment can go.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's really stirred something up in you. And I'm sure you had compliments from mom, from
Yes.
friends, from your mom's friends. But what are your thoughts? Sometimes I feel like as sweet and as kind as that is, it doesn't do the same thing as it does from the opposite sex.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, you're right. My mom did tell me I was pretty. She told me that all the time, but it's like, you're my mom. You're supposed to say that. Like, what are you talking about? But when it came to someone that I did not know, that just, I'm just walking through, going to the band room, and for him to say that, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I don't think he was trying to talk to me. He just was telling me that I was a beautiful person. And I was like, I'd never heard that before. And so I think that really stuck with me, and it helped me to really develop that confidence. So you're right. I mean, a simple compliment can go a long way for people. So people give
Mhm.
compliments. Tell people they
Yeah,
look nice.
it's compliments, same sex and opposite sex.
Yeah.
And there's a way to compliment the opposite sex if you're not interested in pursuing them.
Right.
That just comes off friendly. Like you
Yeah.
didn't even think any further about like him in that, in a romantic way. It was just like, oh, me. Thank you.
Right. That's exactly what I was like, me? Okay, thank you. So yes.
And you are beautiful, my friend.
Oh, thank
So
you.
like your mom. Well,
Oh, thank you.
you are welcome. So will you tell me a bit about how insecurities, even after this compliment that just lit up your eyes and stirred you to be seen, how did insecurities stay with you or leave going into adulthood?
Yeah. So it stayed with me. Started developing acne, and unfortunately, even as an adult, I'm still dealing with acne. And so that really affected me as well because I'm looking at friends with beautiful skin, and here I am with all of these bumps and all of these dark scars all on my face. And, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, people, look so much prettier than me. Something else that I thought about, so I know that people talk about weight. And normally when you hear about weight, you hear about, a heavier person or person that has more weight on them. Well, I dealt with the opposite. I was really skinny and I used to be called toothpick. Look at you with your toothpick self. And they might have been playing, I don't know, but that affected me. And I was like, I'm too skinny. I need to eat. Like, I need to eat more because I thought that I was not pretty enough because everyone would talk about, oh, you're just so skinny. You're just like a straight line. I would hear and that was from family, friends. And again, I don't know if they were just, trying to push me to eat more. I don't know what that was, but that did affect me. And so, growing up, right. Isn't that crazy? Because normally you hear the opposite,
Yeah.
but people didn't know that I was dealing with that, and it affected me. And I'd always be like, I'm not that skinny. I would say it all the time just to try to protect myself and my psyche, but they didn't know that they were really affecting me. And then even as an adult, you start to think about not only your looks, but you start to think about am I speaking correctly? Another thing I dealt with, I told you I went to a school that had other races. There wasn't that many Black people. So I would hear you're talking a certain way. Um, and I'm sitting here like, what do you mean? This is just how I talk. But everyone would talk about the way I talk. So then I try to, or what's the word, acclimate myself to the way someone else would talk, just so that, it makes them feel better. And here I am feeling like I'm not supposed to talk like this. I'm supposed to, sound this way. And, it just really affected me growing up. But I always, the confidence, what helped me more was having both parents. Um, and I'm thankful for that. A lot of the times I don't pay attention to the fact that other people do not have both their parents in their lives to really guide them. And so I'm thankful that I had both parents, and having a father who told me I was pretty and told me, hey, you can go do anything. I mean, they made me feel like I could go and get in a plane and fly it with no training. Like, that was the thing that helped me. But along the way, there were those insecurities constantly. Am I good enough? Do I speak correctly? Am I speaking a little too much correct? Like, there was just all of these things. And so insecurities are still there. I was talking to my husband just last night, and I was telling him, like, man, I feel like I don't have goals compared to other people. I'm like, like, I brought you up actually. I was like, Jasmine is always doing something great. She doesn't see it, but I'm always like admiring from afar. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just always great ideas, and you implement them. And I'm over here like, what am I supposed to be doing? God, what do you want me to do? What is my purpose? Why am I here? So even though a person may seem like they have everything together on the outside, still dealing with stuff. It's an everyday struggle to try your best to be best, and also to just be considerate and think about, it's okay that you're not perfect. It's okay not to be like everybody else.
Yes,
Just be you. But I'm that person that I sit back and I'm like, man, I'm lazy. I don't do much. I don't do this. I don't do, always in your head, always in your head. So so to answer your question, is my confidence better? Absolutely. Is it still an everyday thing? Yes. Every day I'm still trying to figure out what makes me me and how can I be in a happy place. So yeah. So even with being married, the desire, I ask him, do you still like me? Do you still love me? Are you still like, what? Why am I doing that? So, but it's still there. It's still there.
Ah, my sweet friend. Thank you so much for your openness, man. That is huge. So, my first guest, her name is Alexandria Barabin Harris, and she spoke about how we often relate insecurities only to singleness, but how she experienced them still going into marriage, and how that's a conversation we don't have much. Of course, I'm single, so it's not a conversation that I can delve into greatly, but I really respect that you and her at least addressed it, so it's not something that's taboo. And maybe other married women, will come together and talk about that and lift each other up in it, because I would imagine that that's not an easy space either, because now you have to navigate it with someone else.
Yes.
Yeah. I also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say, I also want to speak to something you said that really struck me, and it was how people would call you toothpick and say you're too skinny, and how that would affect you. I I feel that often in our culture, Black culture, we've had a long history of being demeaning but thinking it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably going to be a hard thing to break, because it's been so many generations of doing that. But when we do that to one another, it it affects the person at the end of that. So whether for me it was somebody saying, why you walk like that, right? Now I'm thinking about my
Mhm.
walk all the time. or
Yeah.
or why would you wear that with that shape? Now I'm thinking about, oh my God, let me figure out what I need to, what works well for me. Oh, this probably doesn't, and with you, I'm sure you were perfectly fine, but because other people are bigger, they
Yes.
thought they needed to say to you, you're too thin. Like
Yes.
it's almost always an internal insecurity that we are, what do you call it? We're putting on somebody else when we
Mm-hmm.
say like that. But I just wanted to address that because I feel like that's another nugget. Like we need to be conscious of what we're saying to other people. No more backhanded compliments.
Exactly.
Yes,
Ex-
let's love each other, lift each other up with our words, kids and all.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And what's the old saying? If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Don't
Like
say it at all, honey.
just be quiet. Just be quiet.
Yeah,
Stop.
yeah, we don't
Like,
no more. So, if you don't mind sharing, how has your husband juggled the insecurities throughout the marriage? And I'm sure there can be different reactions for different times, but overall, how would you say the journey has been with a partner?
yeah, so the blessing with having the type of husband I have, he is a praying man. He
Okay.
is a man of faith on a whole nother level. I tell him like, I mean, I love the Lord and I got my relationship, but baby, you right there, like boom, 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 you know. But he does a lot of praying. So an example, I mentioned my father. My father passed away in 2017. And that was a very trying time for me. That was a pillar that would hype me up, so to speak, the pillar that would help me build my confidence. And he was gone. And, I went through, and same thing with my grandmother passing away as well. So, two pillars in the same year within months pass away. And that really affected me. And I'm bringing that up to say, I became very angry. I was angry with God. I was angry with people. I did not want to do anything else. I was like, what is the point of life?
Mm.
And my husband had to see it firsthand every day. Every day he had to see me cry, anger, all of this stuff. And so to answer your question, some of the things that he would do, sometimes he would just put on gospel music in a bedroom and just walk out. He wouldn't say nothing. He's an action person anyways. He's not really a words person. So he would play gospel music, but he would go and he would pray. He'd read the Bible. If he saw that I was having a moment, he'd just grab my hands and say, let's pray. Um, and sometimes, when you're going through something, you got to attitude. I don't feel like praying,
Yeah,
but
for real.
yeah, it's real. I'm a very transparent person, as you know. But he prayed, and you know, um, just the other day, I was like, do you even like my hair? I noticed you didn't say anything. Now we've been together 11 years, and I'm still over here questioning, certain things. He was like, "Oh yeah, I love it. It looks pretty. I like the color." I was like, "Well, you didn't say anything at the beginning when I first put it in." So I think that patience. I think that he has this amazing patience with people. While I'm like, you and I in our private conversations, y'all, I tell her all the time, I'm the side eyer. I will side eye somebody in a second. But he's just very patient with me and with what I go through on a daily basis. And he just tries to think of ways to really help me through things. Are we perfect? No. Y'all, let me just TSA. Quit saying couple goals. Every couple goes through stuff. No one is perfect. Like, I get, that you want a certain relationship with someone, but it's okay to just stay in your lane. And like what works for my marriage may not work for yours. So my husband praying for me, it works. It may not work in your marriage. You may need a little bit more, so just the couple goes, stop it. stop it. So to answer your question, he has a lot of patience.
Amen. What I mean, it's a beautiful godly trait, it's one of those that he said is born by love. Like
Yes.
love develops the patience and the long suffering.
Yes.
So I just shout out to D, the other D, Derek. Thank you for loving my girl the way you are and the way you have. Yeah. And obviously she just shouted you out hugely. So there's that. Yeah, so I would love, so I hear the Jesus piece for sure as you talk about your husband and how he's put on gospel music and left, or he's prayed with you and you feel like he has a very close relationship with God. How would you describe yours as you've navigated the insecurities and the confidence building that you've had? And I can't wait to talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Yeah. So I was always raised in the church, but even though you're raised in the church, doesn't mean you're really listening. You'd be sitting there all day and focused on other stuff. I mean, but when it really hit that God was real, and no joke, y'all, year 2000, when they said the world was going to end.
You had a Y2K moment.
Yes. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, what? The world's ending? Like, I need to be in church because I need to go to heaven. That's what I thought. Oh, church is me to heaven. So I think I was 16 years old at the time. And I started going to this church. And like I say, I just went that one night. That was my goal. One night, because we're gonna be gone. And started continuing to go and started to learn more and started to see God in a different way. So that helped me to develop my own relationship, even though I was raised in the church. And it really just, I don't know, it allowed me to say, okay, there's more to life than just going to school or whatever. And so I started reading more. When I got to college, normally freshmen, as they say, will wow out. I was the student that was in my room reading the Bible. They would come knock on my window. Girl, we're going to Krispy Kreme. You want to go? No, I'm gonna read the Bible, and that's what I would do. And that, and it was crazy. And then people started to talk about the insecurities. People started to make me feel weird for reading the Bible.
Yeah,
they started, girl, you're in college. I mean, you have the right to act crazy and go to clubs and do this and do that. And don't get me wrong, y'all. I went to a few clubs. I went to a few parties. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means. But what I'm saying is I really was just so focused on, I gotta have this relationship with God. I need to know what he wants me to do. Mm-hmm. And that journey was great. And then that journey, it was like an edge and flow, waves. It's like, all right, yes, God, I got you. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then another day it's like, hey, God, I don't hear you right now. What you got for me? Right, where you at? Like, I'm going through something. Where you at? So my relationship with God, like I say, I think it's waves. I'm not perfect. There was a time that a few Sundays I quit going to church. I became extremely depressed and I just didn't want to go. I didn't want to get up, and I was very active in church. I was, an usher. I was helping with the children's ministry. I was doing all of the things, and I just woke up one day and was like, I don't want to go to church anymore. And so when it comes to my relationship with God, I love God so much because he forgives us and he meets us where we're at. So I always try my best not to be judgmental because of my own situations in life. And it's so interesting. I actually know a few people that have told me they don't believe in God, but they love me. And they said, but I'm learning more about God through you because of how you are as a person. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you putting a lot of weight on me. But because I'm like, wait, I'm not perfect at all. But they were like, but you're you don't judge me. You don't, you're actually showing love. I hear, they say, I hear Christian people talk about love, but they're not showing it. They're talking about us. They're talking about what we're doing. They're, gossiping about us, but they're not helping us. And I was
Oof.
like, wow. So that has helped me with my confidence level with God. And one thing that I try to do every morning, it is the most simplest thing, but I just say, good morning, God. Very first thing, good morning, God. Even if I don't go into a deep prayer, just to know that he is there at any time when I need to just talk to him. So my relationship with God is great. But do I still have a long journey? Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah.
I love that. Well, let's see. It's still morning right now. So good morning, God. It's whatever time it is when you're listening. Why don't you give them a shout out? Good afternoon, God. Good evening, God. Hey, God, what's up? And however you talk.
Yeah.
and, and I love you. Thank you, Lord, for this time even. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that little reminder there. As I briefly mentioned in the beginning, how I see you as a trailblazer, someone who at a young age, particularly for our culture, and I thank God that I'm seeing more and more younger people starting to pay close attention to their personal finances and work toward home ownership and stuff like that. But you were doing it before I saw the movement, okay? Um, and I actually rode by your house yesterday, and I was like, "Oh my God, that's where my friend used to live. Dang, that's a nice house." Her first house was a really nice house.
Thank
So, if
you.
you don't mind, tell me a bit about how, despite some of the ways that the enemy wanted to get you down with insecurities, you were still able to go on to do some trailblazing things that people weren't doing around you in a way that just seemed so effortlessly and normal to other people on the outside.
Right. That's a good question that I've never really thought about. So one thing about me, I like to be different. So I was that kid, like I told you, my mom, she was a solution-based person. I didn't like to wear the same clothes as everyone else in the school. So I'd ask, Mom, can you take me to Atlanta or somewhere else where there are some different clothes? So I've always been different in that way. Um, and I think my difference allowed me to be a leader for
Mm,
myself. And so because of that, I would hear someone say, oh, this young person can't do this. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna prove them wrong. I'm gonna do it. Oh, this person can't speak in front of 1,000 people. I'm gonna prove them wrong. I can do it. Now, do I know what I'm gonna say? No, but I'm gonna do it. And so I always had that in within me. And I always wanted to be independent. 16 years old, I remember going to my mom asking her, could I get a part-time job? And she said, no, you need to focus on school. And I said, well, let's make a deal. If I work and my grades still look good, can I stay at the job? And she said, oh yeah, absolutely. And I did it.
wow.
I was a person that just pushed myself. Um, and also being observant of others around me that were struggling. I did not want that life.
Yeah.
Not want that. Like I was like, you're 50, 60 years old, still asking people for money. I don't want this life. I want to learn how to live for me. And something that always stuck in the back of my head was if my mom and dad were to pass away today, and this is, high school, how am I going to take care of myself? And
Wow.
so they didn't like the fact that I wanted to be independent. My parents wanted me to depend on them for forever, but I had to push back and explain to them, I need to learn how to do this for myself. Let me fumble, let me make my mistakes, and I'll learn from them. So to answer your question in reference to that, what happened was I was laid off of a job and I had to move back in with my mom. Now, that was my biggest fear. You all just heard me say that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to struggle. And so I'm living with my mom and I'm like, how did I get here? And I'm like, I was laid off. and I didn't have a savings. And I was like, okay, my mom is letting me live here for free. I need to figure something out. So instead of, some people go back home, they're living rent free or whatever you want to call it. They're just spending their money. They're just going here, going there. I was not doing that. I would stay at home every day. I finally found a job. And when I did find the job, I would just save my money. I had a savings account. I opened it up and I just save, 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 save. That's what I would do every day while everybody else was going to get their hair done, their nails done, pocketbooks closed. I was sitting at home watching TV, saving my money. Go to work, come home, save my money. People would call, girl, you want to go out to eat? I can't afford it. I was that person. And some people say, I can't believe you would say that. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I knew the goal that I had. I wanted to own a home. Now, the blessing for me in reference to owning a home was that my family had always owned homes. My mom has always owned a home. My sister purchased her very first home when she was 23. Okay. So before me, before my, I got to actually have a first-hand look in what that looked like. And I wanted it. I didn't know what it all entailed, but I wanted it. And so when I was saving, I knew obviously I didn't want to live with my mom for forever. So I saved for 2 years. And I went back out in the rent market, and I'm like, oh my gosh, rent is so high. Now it's really, really high. It's crazy high. But at that time I was like, rent is high. I would see what it looks like buying a house. And everybody under the sun tried to talk me out of it. Girl, you ain't gonna be able to do this. You gotta get your own grass cut. You gotta have something, plumbing, all this stuff. And I was like, well, I'm gonna figure it out. Whatever, I'm gonna get me a house. And so I had a friend that was a real estate agent. Reached out to her. She actually was renovating that house. And she asked me to come over and help her stage it. And I was like, okay. So I walk in and I'm like, I'm gonna buy this house. And she was like, what? I didn't know what the cost was. I didn't know anything. I just said, I'll buy it. And shout out to you, Jen. But I bought the house. Pay, it was really the same as rent, the same amount my mortgage was. And once I did it, it's one of those things that I've learned is it's difficult to start something, but once you do and you continue that journey, life gets better. So it was difficult at first for me. It was like, what am I doing? Because everybody was in my ear. You are too young. You can't do this. You need a husband. I would hear all of these. Who gonna take the trash out? Like I would hear all of these things, And so I was like, but I'm gonna do this. And I started the process and I made it through, and it was stressful. As you know, purchasing any home is stressful. Why do we gotta make it stressful? The United States of America. But it was stressful, but I did it. But I had examples in front of me that allowed me to get to that point. And so I did it. And I was dating my husband at the time. And everybody was like, he's going to ask you to propose. Why don't you just wait and you all can buy a house together? And I'm like, no, this is something I want. This is a goal that I want. In the name of Jesus, okay, he will hopefully ask me to marry him. But right now he hasn't. This is the opportunity. I'm going to take it. And that's what I did.
Okay. I didn't know about that element. Well, come on, Jesus.
Yes.
I love it. Sis said, when that happens, great. But as for me and my house now, this is my house.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. We're going to serve the Lord. And that's what I did.
I am here for it. Well, shout out to all the examples, the family examples in your life, because that's a big deal. We always talk about now in media that representation matters, and we're often referring to ethnicities, races, right? We want to see them in different things, but representation matters in things like this, where when they see mom or dad or auntie or cousin, sister, brother doing something well, despite most people around them not, they have another option in mind, like, well, maybe I can do that too. And so I love to hear that there is good representation in among family and friends. And like I said, you have been good representation for me in this area, and not just with the home ownership, although to me that's a very big thing, but also in later in life, as you've become a wife, as you have persevered and loved and given so much, and then of course your husband has too, and it's a beautiful thing how God makes a union work. So that's been cool to see, of course, from the outside. I don't know everything, y'all. You don't tell me everything, okay?
Okay, that's one of my besties. I tell her a lot, but
um, so yeah, I also want to mention, like I said, I won't get into any specifics, but I've got to say, y'all, sis has continued to encourage me as a trailblazer. She started with where I know she started with a job that she really enjoyed, but did not provide her what she desired financially. So I've seen her love doing that job and stick with it. And then she said, you know what? Let me try something else. And she did. And when she tried something else, it was, they gave a little more. And then she was like, well, I'm not that happy here. I don't have to be committed to them, which is something that was stuck in my head. Like, I'm here, I need to work for the man at this job.
yes.
Like I need to be loyal. No, no, not quite. And so you found something else where they possibly treated you better, but certainly gave you more of what you wanted. And you didn't stop until you got closer and closer to what you wanted. And for me, I hadn't known somebody who did that, because the general mentality, especially within our community that I've seen, has been, if it's decent and they're doing pretty well by you, you need to stick it out. You need to stick it out. So tell me, and then I promise I'll wrap it up, but tell us a little bit about what ignited you to say, all right, I don't have to be loyal here. They're not necessarily loyal to me. Let me do what's good for DeSharla.
Yeah. So I have a friend who is a VP of a company, and not to make this a race thing, because I'm not racist by any means. I love all people. However, Black people tend to, as you stated, it's, oh, you got a job, stay, because no one else is going to give you a job, And so you have that mentality, let me stay with this company, let me do this. And a particular friend, I was seeing him every 3 or 4 years jump from job to job. And I was like, wait, that's not the plan. That's not what we were told. You're not supposed to jump from job to job. That looks bad on the resume. That's what people tell you.
Yeah.
And watching him, he explained to me in the executive role that he was in, that he started to learn more from other races and how they would increase their salaries each year. And it was learn a lot from one company and move on to the next. And I was like, no, I'm not going to be like that. This company's great. Why would I leave this company? They're amazing. And some of the things that, some nuggets that he helped me think about was, when you start with a company, you want to try to get as much money up front, because once you are there and you get those raises, they give you the little pieces of a percentage, and that's it. And so every year you're excited about, oh, I'm getting a 3% raise, when in reality it may be an extra $150 a year when you really think about the actual calculation of it. But you don't think about that at that time. You're thinking about the percentage, because that's how they present it to you. And so having those conversations with him really opened up my eyes a little bit more. And one day I said, it makes sense. I would see an email come across. I work in corporate America, and I would see an email say, this VP is moving on to another venture. And I'm like, what? They're a VP. I know they're making six figures. Why would they leave this job? Only to find out that they were getting paid more somewhere else. And if I'm honest, there was a fear of change. I think that's another reason why people stay in a role. They're like, I don't want to learn anything new. I don't want to learn new people. And it is scary. But one day I decided, my husband and I, just like Jasmine, she's a real estate guru. I tell her that all the time. But we love real estate as well. And so for me, I was like, what can I do to contribute to help us get to a place where we can purchase more real estate? And so, needless to say, I made the decision to try something out, and I did. And it surprised me when they offered me the salary they offered me. I was like, wait, I'm worth more. Because at the time, I didn't think I was worth more. I thought it was normal. And so I took on that job. Yeah, you know, that plays into that insecurity aspect too, because you don't know your worth, and you feel like you're not worth. You feel like you're not worth much. And so, what I did was I would take the time out and I would start with a job. I learned from the job. I ask questions. One thing that I do, I would write down terminology. I didn't go to school for business, corporate world. So words I would use, capacity. We don't have the capacity. I'd write that word down. I'd write down a definition. So I had a running record list of words and verbiage. And I started to mimic the people and how they would handle certain things.
Okay.
And because of the mimicking, I think that really allowed me to grow even more. I started taking LinkedIn learning courses. A lot of people don't know about LinkedIn learning.
I didn't.
Yeah, it's awesome. I learned more about Excel. I started to put more into myself so that I could, I guess, be an example to others in reference to how to be more successful. Am I where I want to be? No. But just to give you an example, and I'm not bragging by any means, but I just want to show people the example when it comes to salary. I'm not giving you my salary, of course, but just in March of 2022, I was making a salary, and now I'm making about $55,000 more than what I was making just over a year ago.
Huge.
That's crazy to me.
Huge for corporate America, because like you said, if we had left it up to them, it would be half a percentage, maybe 1, 2, 3 on like, oh, we killing this side.
Yeah.
But you took double percentage points and added them to your own salary by making moves.
Yes. Yeah. So if there's something that you want to do, do not stop yourself from doing it. Do it. That's my biggest thing. Do it. Jasmine in this podcast, something that I've heard her talk about she wanted to do. Yeah, I'm talking about you now, right now. And one day she was like, sis, I'm starting a podcast. So whoever is listening to this podcast, please continue the journey with Jasmine. She talks about me being a trailblazer. No, she is a trailblazer. I have watched Jasmine handle so many different projects and be so successful at every single project she touches. I am blessed to have a friend like her. She's helped me through stuff. She's like, girl, okay, now, sis, I don't know if I would have. Sis, now I need you to think. She really has been such an eye-opening person for me and who I am, and helping to develop me, that I think that that's the type of friends that you have. So when you see the title Undesirable Girl, find people that desire not necessarily the same things, but desire things, and help each other. We as women, we gotta help each other.
We do.
Don't stop allowing people to be successful. And that is the biggest thing that I tell my husband all the time. I want everyone around me to win. So if I learn something, oh, you're gonna know about it.
Yes.
Same thing over here. Jasmine created a seminar, y'all, and she sent over resources in reference to real estate. And like, y'all, she don't brag on herself. Like one day I think I need to come and interview you because people need to really know who the person is behind this podcast because she's amazing. And I'm honored every day to be like, that's my friend. That's my friend.
Likewise, for real. That means a lot. Seriously. Thank you very much. And we'll set that up. We'll set up the you interview me episode. That would be fun.
Yeah, I think so.
You are so sweet. Real quick, I'm about to wrap it up, but yeah, I gotta tell you, I have a song. So if you know anything about me, you know that about 10 years ago, I did a song with KB titled Heart Song. And the song is on streaming platforms, including Pandora. When I tell you, my friend acts like I am signed to Sony myself.
That you are Beyonce.
This album out because she heard it on Pandora. I'd be like, girl, everybody music can get on Pandora. But she be so supportive.
No.
Like, my friend on Pandora.
No, y'all don't understand. I was getting my hair done and my hairstylist was playing Pandora and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, yeah, girl. And I'm like, Jasmine, I said, look, can I see your phone real quick? I called her, mind y'all, my head looked a hot mess. I called Jasmine, you are on Pandora. She's like, anybody can be on there. I'm like, I know you lying. That's my quote, yeah. I know you lying because I have never heard, I know people that, you know, do a little singing, do a little rapping, all this little stuff. I ain't never heard that music on Pandora. So no. So again, y'all hear that. She's amazing. Everything she does, amazing. And I just cannot wait to see what God does for you.
Likewise. And I know that just saying this won't do the trick, but prayerfully it'll just come into your head more and more and more. I pray that you not be so hard on yourself regarding what's next. I intentionally spoke about you being a trailblazer with the house, you being a trailblazer with changing careers to get closer to the salary you want, to acknowledge the fact that you are doing something, that you're doing great things, even though you don't feel like it's like this is my exact purpose, like this is my passion in life. Like your moves, being obedient to God, your moves are getting you closer, which is something important. As a lot of us who don't know exactly what God is saying we should do with the rest of our lives. And then even that concept of do your passion, which is X for the rest of your life, is not exactly reality, because tons of people pivot. Almost everyone successful, let me just say like that, almost everyone successful pivots. Yes. They thought this was it, and it was for that season, however long or short it was. But then there's a pivot into another area that takes them even further or carries them, for the next season or seasons. And so anyway, that's what I see happening for you. And I pray that God would calm your soul in that regard, because it's happening even when you don't feel it happening. So there's that. Anyway, I love you very much. I am so glad that you graced me with your presence today, and you blessed my audience on Undesirable Girl, the podcast, now our audience. So if people want to connect with you, maybe ask you some questions or just learn a bit from you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you can always send me a text. I have a quote unquote business number, 423-521-2529, 423-521-29, or you can email me at lovelyandblessed2010@gmail.com. So lovely and blessed, BLESSED 2010@gmail.com. I am an open book, as Jasmine says. I will share whatever knowledge, whatever nuggets. And also I'm open to learning from other people. I don't know everything. I love learning. So that is something that most definitely I would love to do, is connect with anyone from Jasmine's audience. And hope that, you know, we all as sisters can grow, learn, and just really just elevate each other, help each other, and love on each other as much as possible. So
you are amazing, my friends. Please connect with DeSharla and connect with us by continuing to follow us on Spotify or your favorite podcast streaming app. You can also watch us. Oh, please like and subscribe. You know, all that good stuff. I'm new to this, so I forget all that. Follow us on YouTube, hit that notification bell, you know, all the stuff that people say. But yeah, I would love to keep our connection growing so that we can grow together, and you'll hear more amazing pieces of encouragement like you just heard from DeSharla right here on Undesirable Girl, the podcast, where the UN is X'd out to remind women that we are desirable. Love you. Thank you, DeSharla.
bye, thank you.